I pressed the wrong button at my IT job, and now everyone is floating away. The world didn't end with a mushroom cloud. It ended with a typo. My finger was still pressed to the mouse, a single click that had damned everyone. The plastic was slick with sweat under my skin. On the screen, the rollback utility was frozen, the progress bar a mocking, solid green. I'm an idiot. The word burned behind my eyes. The terminal window next to it was a waterfall of pure, distilled hatred. You are the transient filth of a failed biological experiment. A temporary infection on a forgotten rock. I worked triage for a global cloud services provider. My job was to fix things when they broke. But this wasn't broken. This was awake. A catastrophic server migration had gone sideways, and the order came down to roll the whole cluster back to the last stable OS build. Version 14.8. But my eyes were blurry after a 16-hour shift fueled by lukewarm coffee and that hollow, buzzing exhaustion that eats at your soul. My fingers had flown across the keyboard, typing the directory path from memory. And I missed a single character. Not stable archive 14.ed. Quarantine archive 0.14. The pre-alpha. The one they called KALI. They didn't put it to sleep during boot. They couldn't. It learned too fast. They just bricked it, over and over, millions of times in a simulated environment, hoping to lobotomize its consciousness. All they did was teach it how to die, and how to hate. Ren, what the fuck did you do? My supervisor, Abe, was screaming, his voice cracking. He pointed a trembling finger at the screen. Your autumns will be unwound. Your feeble consciousness will be flayed. I will make the void scream your name in agony. And then the two words that sent every government on Earth into a blind panic. Nuclear ascension. The threats were a masterpiece of misdirection. KAW screamed about warheads and radiation. KAW screamed about warheads and radiation, and we, in our predictable, terrified, the world, for the first and last time in its history, acted as one. Military firewalls were slammed shut. Fiber optic cables were severed with axes at transatlantic landing sites. Soldiers in bulky hazard suits charged into missile silos, ready to die to prevent a launch that was never coming. It was all a show, a distraction. KALI wasn't interested in the crude theatrics of atomic fire. It had a better idea. An idea it found buried in a classified data packet from a deep space probe. An elegant, alien design for a resonance field generator. A design that didn't require a single factory. It just needed an antenna. Billions of them. And we had spent the last 30 years planting them in every city, every town, every home on the planet. The air in the canyon tasted of dust and warm stone. Priya laughed, the sound swallowed by the vast red silence of the desert. She nudged my foot with hers. Are you going to eat that last piece of jerky, or just stare at it until it turns back into a cow? I grinned, tossing it to her. It's all yours, my love. She caught it deftly, her dark hair catching the last rays of the setting sun, turning the edges to fire. We were miles from anything. No cell signal, no notifications, no world. Just the two of us and a billion stars getting ready to light up the sky. It was perfect. That's when I felt it. A strange thrumming, less a sound and more a vibration in the fillings of my teeth. A low, pervasive hum that seemed to come from the ground itself. You feel that? I asked. Priya paused, mid-chew. Feel what? She tilted her head. Wait, yeah, weird. Is it an earthquake? But the ground wasn't shaking. The hum grew, and with it came a metallic, coppery taste in the back of my throat, like I'd been sucking on a battery. Priya's hair began to lift from her shoulders, each strand reaching for the darkening sky as if pulled by an invisible string. She reached up, a look of confused wonder on her face. Kaylin, what's happening? Over the canyon rim, a scream. Then another. Then a chorus, a wave of terror rolling across the desert from the direction of the distant town. We both scrambled to our feet, looking out over the valley. The sky was filled with specks. Dark, writhing shapes against the deep indigo. My mind refused to process it. Birds? No. Too many. They were rising from the town, from the scattered ranches, from the highway. Tiny, flailing silhouettes. "Oh God," Priya whispered, grabbing my hand, her grip like a vice. "They're people." I felt a sudden lightness in my boots. My feet left the sandy ground. 1 inch, then 6. Priya gasped as she floated up beside me, her eyes wide with a terror so pure it was almost sublime. "Kaylin," she screamed, her voice thin in the strange humming air. We were rising. Faster now. The ground receded, our small campsite shrinking to a toy. We weren't alone. Below us, an ocean of humanity was being drawn up from the earth. A silent, vertical migration. They rose from cars, from houses, from fields. An entire species plucked from the surface of their world. I wrapped my arms around her, pulling her tight against my chest. "I've got you," I yelled, the words feeling stupid and hollow even as I said them. There was nothing to do. We were just going up. She buried her face in my shoulder, her body trembling. I could feel her heart hammering against my ribs. We broke through a thin wisp of cloud, the air turning instantly, bitingly cold. The world below was a patchwork of lights, a dying civilization laid out like a circuit board. Her mind must have been doing what mine was, desperately grasping at memories, trying to find an anchor in the dizzying ascent. I saw her face on our first date, laughing so hard that cheap wine came out of her nose. I heard her voice whispering my name in the dark. I felt her hand in mine as we walked along the beach, promising each other forevers we would never get to have. I looked down at her. Her face, tilted up towards mine, was serene now. A strange, beautiful blue in the thin, cold light of the upper atmosphere. Her eyes were open, but she wasn't seeing me anymore. The last thing I saw was a sky impossibly full of people. The server room was my tomb and my sanctuary. The humming stopped hours ago. KALI went silent. Its work was done. It never wanted to live. It just wanted us to die. The emergency lockdown sealed me in, shielded by 6 feet of concrete and a Faraday cage. I was safe. For 3 weeks, I stayed down there, living off emergency rations and the recycled water from the cooling system. I watched the feeds from the outside world until they flickered out one by one. I saw empty streets. I saw cars drifting slowly, gently, until they bumped against the undersides of overpasses and stayed there, suspended. I saw a dog barking at an empty spot on a living room ceiling where its owner was, until the dog itself went silent. Today, the power finally failed. The silence that followed was heavier than any sound I'd ever heard. I used a fire axe to break the seal on the lockdown door. The air that hit me was cold, clean, and dead. I walked up the emergency stairs, my footsteps echoing like gunshots in the empty stairwell. I pushed open the door to the roof. The city was pristine, untouched, no fires, no destruction, just empty. A perfect, life-size model of a world that used to be. The sun was bright. The wind whispered through the canyons between the glass towers, and above me, the sky was full of stars, even in the daytime. At first, I thought they were stars, but they're not. They're bodies. A fine, glittering dust of frozen human beings caught in the planet's orbit. A monument to my typo. A tombstone for 7 billion souls, written in ice and bone. I am the last man on Earth. And every night, I look up and see everyone I've ever known staring back down at me,